Southgate Meadows Trail, we started looking at that last year. So we kind of ran out of time with the season, so we're going to be going out in the field this year, looking at it a little bit more closely, and then that will be a NEPA document that will get all your input if you want in terms of the trail and its location and kind of redeveloping that. So that was one thing we did say, with budgets we're going to move forward with. I think Steve brought up Sand Flat. That's an area where we have lots of dispersed use. We don't really know how much. I mean, we know it's a lot. It would be nice to have an inventory of that so that we'd have better information, and then maybe we could move that if we were going to do something about that forward in subsequent years. And then Jen's been working a lot right on the kind of Bunny Flat, the Everett Memorial Corridor. Again, getting more information on the use and how people are using that area, so that we'll continue that. So that's about all we have right now for this coming year.
And then maybe farther out, 5 years, 10 years, even like Steve was saying, we've got a big issue with road transportation.
Right, and so that would probably be another example of where we can use this LiDAR imagery and get folks to kind of ground truth that. So that would be another inventory thing. We haven't laid it out exactly in terms of which year we're going to be doing these different activities. But, my hope, I didn't, want the team to do the document and then not to do anything with it. It's a living document, and we do want to, we think there's some tremendous opportunities, and we do want to move those things forward.
Are there questions that anyone has that hasn't done questions before we go back to more people?
Are there any bark beetle infestations, and how widespread?
That picture of the ponderosa pine stand, I believe that one was due to bark beetle infestation, and that stand, if you look on the vegetation map, let's see, maybe we'll jump to a couple slides. So there's the photo of the bug kill area. You can see in this area, and these were taken from airplane. I don't remember if it was airplanes or helicopters where they do their flights to check for bug kill and disease kill stands. And then you might be able to spot it. So the ponderosa pine is this orange colored area. So that's where that photo was taken from, somewhere in this area. Yeah. So that's one known spot that we do have. Others, I couldn't relate to personally, but I'm sure our silviculturists have more information on that, as well as our disease specialists.
We do have an area, I think I was just trying to figure out if it's within the watershed area or not, but it's on the McLeod Flats around Elk Flat. That's a big pocket, and so we've been trying to put together a NEPA document on that. I think some folks may have come out with us last year for a field trip on that. So we are trying to break up those pockets of mortality and really looking at the whole area and see what we can do, so that we don't just, cut the trees down when they're dead, but really look at what is the disease cycle, what's the cause, and try to treat it from that perspective.
What was the type of trees that was cleaned up with the McBride campground cleanup? They said there was an infestation in there that they had to do a large cleanup. They closed the camp. White fir? Short needle then.
Thank you.
You keep mentioning that it's a living document, so I kind of have a little empathy, but is there any chance of getting it in PowerPoint or a PDF so we can see it?
There's a PDF on
Of this whole,
Of the whole document.
chapters 1 through 6?
Yeah.
We could
Okay,
probably-
fantastic, I can find it.
We could
Yeah.
probably look into getting the slideshow on there as well.
Right.
So just to clarify that at the same website where you have the whole document, you might be able to PDF your slideshow,
Right.
so they can find it in the same spot. Okay.
Yeah, if you go to that website listed, you want to scroll all the way down to the webpage and then see Watershed Analysis and Assessment Reports, and it's the very first one, it's the Mount Shasta Watershed Assessment,
Thank you.
as well as our other watersheds assessments that have been done on the Shasta Trinity.
Okay, we'll take you and then you, just because you haven't asked a question yet.
Yeah, now, when I looked at Google Earth, I went down to Mount Shasta, much of the mountain around the base of it, been clear cut or logged and you know, full patchwork everywhere. I didn't really get that sense of the historic logging and how that affected the watershed. in the document.
Well, from the railroad standpoint, I think when we were looking at reference conditions, you know, we started with geologic, which seemed long for vegetation. So for the Forest Service establishing in 1905, at least in my perspective, by the time the Shasta Trinity National Forest Reserves were created, much of that territory around those railroads had been treated. A lot of the, whatever you want to call original stands, were gone. They've been cleared, they've been harvested for the railroad construction and also for some of the timber mills that were already established at that time. I think we keep talking about the reference vegetation condition, and in our discussions, it's hard to know what that is. You know, the C. Merriam, right before the turn of the century, post-railroad. So if that's your, you know, snapshot, that's certainly not pre-railroad. So, and there was some discussion about fires, Native American fire use. Hard to know how, you know, what an impact that has really on, you know, mature stands, especially if they're open pine stands. Those are pretty fire adapted. So going forward from that point, what we know is by the 60s, we were converting shrub fields into fabulous monotypic plantations. So, is that?
Well, you know, I don't know where I'm going with it. It just seems like it should be an integral part of the study. Just
More
to
discussion?
understand how much logging has been done, is there any old growth that is mapped out significantly, and do you make recommendations based upon that? Is that an issue?
Right.
Seems easier.
One of the other things, essentially, you know, getting handed the fire slide since I'm so not a fire person, a large part of the watershed doesn't burn. It's up pretty high. And even though we have 100 years of fire suppression and a lot of shrub fields that may or may not have been original, I think it's a pretty high percentage of the watershed still is in low to moderate fire hazard. So, yeah, the vegetation piece is a little bit of a puzzle. Certainly the southeast portion, where we have those heavy mixed conifer stands, very different from the northwest portion where it's that really dry, desiccated, more shrub, not conifer stands. So, but I don't know. We're not aware of reference data that points earlier than that.
I'd just add on to that too, Bill. Well, this group here, we focused on several of the research topics, but we're fairly light on the vegetation, and in the analysis there's a lot more information on at least the stand types and community types that do exist or each described and mapped based on the best mapping that we currently have. I know for other watershed analysis we have done exactly what you were suggesting when we looked at the several stages, and basically proportions of those habitat types, and try to get an assessment of questions like how much old growth is left. I'm not sure if we've done that yet, but that would be something that it could be rolled in if it hasn't been included in this already. We do have several, so we have some of that in the analysis.
Kathleen and then Frances, go ahead.
Just wanted to say say thanks for a really great presentation and making it cohesive. I think one of the things, a huge benefit for coming tonight is seeing how those different aspects of the analysis relate. And you all helped us really see how the different maps relate. And I just might suggest, it's hard sometimes in a document with so many sections and so many maps to weave that together. And I don't really have the answer, except that maybe there's some times where a couple of, two maps might help to be posed one side by side, like similarly to the way you spoke to it tonight. It was really, really helpful. Thank you.
I'd like to comment you again on a rather excellent watershed review, excellent program. And last shot is another one for Bachman, I believe, and Ms. Napper. During the 1980s, I personally installed about 60 or 70 deer watering devices on the north and west sides of Mount Shasta. This would follow about during the next 10 years as some of the most wonderful deer hunting and big bucks came out of there. Some, I don't know if any of them made Boone and Crockett or not, but we had some wonderful deer hunting there for about the first 10 years after these were put in. Now it's been about another 10 years, and I didn't see this mentioned in the watershed, nor did I see the deer winter range on the north side mentioned in your watershed. I didn't hear anything about the old defunct andesite range allotment, where we did put a lot of deer guzzlers around that area. And I think it would be nice if you went to the old GPS data, or some of my old paper data, which is on file, Annette Navarre should have a copy of it, and you looked at all those 70-odd wildlife watering devices that I put out there. What happened? Have they been maintained? Are they still there? Were they vandalized? What has been the long-term effect of all those guzzlers on the deer populations on the north and west sides of the mountain? Do we see continual, lots of deer big buck harvests going on? Or did that die out and go away? Has there been several stage ecological advancement to the point that the deer need something else now besides water? Or have the guzzlers just deteriorated to the point they all need a good clean out? This does happen. So if you would you put that into the watershed analysis? And the bottom line is, what happened with those guzzlers? What effect did they have? There's 70 of them. If you can't find them, I put them all in so I know where they all are. But go to them, find them, the ones you can't find, I'll take you to them. But look at that, and please put it in your watershed analysis. Thank you.
Thank you. That's kind of some of the information that we wanted, because we don't know everything that's out there, so bringing that up to our attention is good. Appreciate that.
So I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions, and if you are still just mulling this information around, just like Carolyn mentioned, the people in the room have a lot of information and knowledge, and they provided a little comment card that you could put information you know about on so that they have it to be able to include and reference. And then, of course, you can come up and speak with all of them after we've closed our presentation. So last one or two questions here?
No. I think it would be useful to have a map that shows some of the, well, like the Mount Shasta recreation area that was established in 1926, the historic district boundaries, the boundaries of the Mudstone RNA, areas where you're constrained, well, I think what the RNA and the recreation area were congressionally designated. So it would just be nice to have a map that shows those areas and those constraints.
We do have a map back there that has some of the management prescriptions. I believe it has the wilderness and the wildland urban interface. It doesn't have the historical.
Yeah, the Mount Shasta, the Congress designated portions of Mount Shasta in 1926 as a recreation thing, and its boundary, I think, is important.
for.
Well, I think that with that, we can allow closing our presentation, and you can please come and have snacks, come and talk with people, share more information, get a comment card that you can drop off at the post office, the Forest Service office,
Or email.
or email. And there's an email list for both the Forest Stewardship Series and the Water Talk Series up there, as well as brochures for the upcoming forest presentations.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, we do have brochures for the next, I believe the next 3 Forest Stewardship Series we're putting on, so if you're interested in any of them, feel free to come by. The next one we're having on March 29th. If you're like me and live just outside the city areas, you have recently gotten tagged with a fire protection bill of $150 or more or less, depending if you're near a fire station or if you have multiple habitable buildings. So we're going to have Cal Fire's Darren Quigley, Battalion Chief, is going to come by and talk about those fees, why they've been implemented, what they're going to go for, and what the potential future of them are. So if you're interested in that, please come and join us on the 29th here.
And then the next Water Talk, some of the people in the room will be the presentation. It's going to be a conversation about conservation easements, so pairs of people of the conservation organization and the private landowner talking with each other about their story of, why did they choose to do a conservation easement, what were the benefits, the cost benefits of that. That will be one of our, the next in early April, and most likely these will both be at the Citizen Museum, of course, Stewardship Series, and that you were about to say one more thing. Maybe just thanking our audience. Oh wait, did you have an announcement?
I was just going to ask if you wanted to announce the Land Trust talk. Is the Land Trust talk tomorrow and the River Exchange talk next week?
Okay, so Land Trust talk, would you like to announce that, and then you announce the River Exchange talk?
Sure, great captive audience. Come on. The Land Trust is hosting a slideshow presentation tomorrow given by Chris Carr on backcountry skiing around Mount Shasta, so relevant to our watershed analysis. You can then go see pictures of all these beautiful places.
And on March 13th, mark your calendar, because someone in this room is going to give a beautiful presentation on the Arc of Mount Shasta. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, so March 13th for our presentation, and then there's...
Yeah, and next Tuesday, a week from tonight, we'll be back here. The River Exchange is hosting a presentation on bird identification by Phil Dietrich. That's from 6 to 8 or 8:30 here. And that is a prelude to our co-sponsored trip to the Klamath Refuges, an all-day trip on the 23rd, next Saturday, a week from Saturday. And if you're interested in more information about that, you can contact us in our office because we do have a limited number of spots for that.
Yeah. Thank you very much. There's so much going on, so many knowledgeable people in our community, and we need a coordinated calendar for people to be able to know all this, because that's just the